Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My friends, Allah bless you all. Okay, let's continue with the Tafsir of Surah Yusuf. Al-Fatiha. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد صلاة تفرحه وتسعده وترضيه واجزه بها عنا ما هو أهله يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So, Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us and we were able to look at these verses of Surah Yusuf. So, up until now, the wife of the Aziz has done her best to try and seduce Sidna Yusuf, and when she was mocked, when she was criticized by the people of her society, she showed Sidna Yusuf to them to with multiple intentions in mind. One is to show to them that look, she's not blameworthy in her eyes, and that it's something anyone who in her situation would have succumbed to, falling in love with, or having lustful desires towards someone so handsome. And she also used it as a means to now openly and publicly say in front of Sayyidina Yusuf, yes, I did that. And then to also, to show that she's not scared of any consequences. Like, if she's admitting it publicly, clearly she's not afraid of any consequences happening to her because of the position of her husband, and how she could manipulate the husband into doing what she wanted. And then also to threaten Sayyidina Yusuf, if he doesn't comply, then things are going to happen. So we saw that Sayyidina Yusuf called to Allah and prayed and said that he would prefer to go to prison than to end up doing what they're calling him to do. So this deep heartfelt dua he made, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then responded to him. So he said فاستجاب له ربه فصرف عنه كيدهن إنه هو السميع العليم. So his Lord responded to him, turning their cunning away from him. Surely he is all hearing, all knowing. So what can we understand from this? Firstly, Allah's deep care and concern for Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. He refers to him as Rabbuhu. He refers to himself as his Lord, the Lord of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Why? Because this is, an implementation of the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. تعرف إلى الله في الرخاء يعرفك في الشدة. And get to know Allah, in times of ease, and he'll get to know you, he'll know you in times of difficulty. Meaning, someone who develops his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and builds on it, especially when times are easy, then when he does call out, the du'as are answered. The du'as are answered in the way Allah wants and according to his time frame, but there is a response, as opposed to someone who doesn't have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't have this Rabbuhu, this, his loving, kind Lord responded to him. It's not the same. And so he said, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ. So the fa indicates immediacy in this situation. Sayyidina Yusuf made this dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately responded, meaning Allah granted him a way out of these problems. So, istajaba, the same meaning applies when we looked earlier on as fasta'asam, that he saw it's best to protect himself, and if there was anything more he could do, he would have. So here the same thing, istajaba, the same thing we see in Surah Al-Mu'min, or Surah Al-Ghafir is also called, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your loving Lord said, call on me, I will surely respond. So here you could say wholeheartedly, for a human being, that someone does something and responds with everything they have. So I will respond in a supreme, tremendous way. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ. So in the most complete, powerful and amazing way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to the dua of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. And then he فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنَّ, and he turned away, he deflected their plot again from him. So they were not able to uh, manipulate or trick their way into getting their wishes. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam remained chaste and remained someone who did nothing wrong, and there was no way they could get him to do anything wrong. Why? Allah was protecting him. So all the harm, all the plots, all the scheming, all the plans that they had laid came to nothing. Right? So, Innahu huwa sami'ul alim. Indeed, he, without a doubt, this is the reason why. He's the one who hears everything and knows everything. This is also a form of commentary, Allah saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala, based on what we saw here, a slave, a servant calling on his master, and then the master responding and taking care of him. This why? Because Allah hears everything. So this is encouragement. Call out to Allah. Speak to Allah, turn to Allah, especially in times of difficulty, especially in times of need. He knows everything, Al-Alim, but He hears everything. And so don't let your understanding that Allah knows everything prevent you from calling on Him. Because that expression of your slavehood, your neediness, your human weakness is worship. When you're turning to Allah, when you're calling on Allah, when you're saying, "Oh Allah, I can't do this. Oh Allah, I'm stuck. Oh Allah, look at me. Oh Allah, the situation seems impossible. Oh Allah, oh Allah, oh Allah, only you can fix it." Those moments are some of the purest moments of servanthood and sincerity and devotion a person has. Those moments when you're convinced only Allah can fix it. You can't do anything. No one can do anything. Oh Allah. And these moments are, ورود الفاقات, was it بسط المواهب, the moments where you feel your deepest need to Allah are like this, like a spread, as in someone puts some food down for like a meal, a spread of divine gifts. As the righteous say, that this is the time where some of the greatest gifts of Allah come, when a person feels unworthy, undeserving, incapable of getting anything by themselves. So this is a beautiful moment. So he said his Lord responded to him, and he said, ثم بدا لهم من بعد ما رأوا الآيات ليسجننه حتى حين. And so it occurred to those in charge, despite seeing all the proofs of his innocence, that he should be imprisoned for a while. So he says, ثم, moreover, بدا لهم, it occurred to them, this idea came to them, من بعد ما رأوا الآيات, straight after they'd seen the signs. What signs? The signs of his innocence, the signs that Sayyidina Yusuf did not do anything wrong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have created a situation where his innocence will have been known, it will have been proved, and the guilty parties looked guilty, and it was obvious that he did nothing wrong, and rather it was the wife of the Aziz, of the Prime Minister, and all the other people involved who were doing what was wrong and deplorable. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam was completely innocent. So this is how it happened. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam remained chaste, and they disliked this. And you know what happens in these sorts of situations? People talk. So when people talk, so the Abu Saud, there's various narrations saying that Abu Saud says that, maybe some of the ladies were ready to testify, no, it wasn't him, it was her all along. But regardless, what we can infer from this is that there were clear signs of Yusuf's innocence, alayhi salatu wasalam. They saw those signs, and immediately after that, what did they do? they made a plan to imprison him. What does this tell you? It tells you that these people that were in this situation were not fair people. They were unfair people, just looking to maintain their own innocence, and the facade of their innocence, no matter the cost, no matter what the cost is. For Sayyidina Yusuf, no one finds prison easy. Prison life is, once a person is accustomed to having freedom and living outside, it's very difficult. Imagine someone who's able to walk around town and just go about their business, having to just sit in a room all day, dark. You only get to eat what you're given, and it's not a pleasant experience. So they knew he's innocent, and immediately after being certain and seeing all of these signs, that's when they decided, let's throw him in prison. So they were clearly in the wrong, and they knew they were doing wrong. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, tested like this by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time he'll have felt relief, because he's been taken out of the situation where they were asking him to disobey God, and they were almost ready to force him into that situation. But no, Allah kept him safe. There's an implied oath there. It's almost like they were swearing an oath. لَيَسْجُنُنَّهُ حَتَّى حِينٍ, and that they will imprison him until a certain time, for a while, until the talk died down. If he had been out, more people would have known, and then people talk, and it would have just been embarrassing and humiliating for them. So they decided to remove Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam from the picture, so they look innocent. What a horrible thing to do. What a horrible thing it is to remove a man's freedom and to imprison him when he has done absolutely nothing wrong. And it's even worse that when those in power are guilty, those who make this happen, they're the ones who are actually the guilty party. So then but it's okay, Allah's on his side, and whoever side Allah is on, they don't need to worry. So he says, وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ, and two other servants, you could say young men, went to jail with Joseph. قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين. One of them said, I dreamt I was pressing wine. The other said, I dreamt I was carrying some bread on my head from which birds were eating. They both said, tell us their interpretation, for we surely see you as one of the good doers. Okay, so last things first. Inna naraka min al muhsinin. We see you as one of the people of excellence. So, ahsana yuhsinu, it can mean to perfect something or to do something well, like you're very skilled at it. But it also has the root meaning of beauty in it, that whoever does something beautiful, he does it well, like a moral person, someone who's engaging in moral action. So, for example, someone who's buying something, someone who's buying clothing that's made for a fraction of the cost that the seller is purchasing it for, by some poor person in a poor country who's getting like $1 a day or something like that, and then someone who's buying such items and wearing them as fashion statements. You might say, okay, your purchase is halal and what you've done is halal, but can you actually say it's ethical, it's morally right? That's a question anyone can ask. And generally, when there's such a state of abuse and exploitation, it's not going to be ethical, is it? So that won't be ihsan. So ihsan is when someone does something in the best way possible constantly. So being how he was, and someone of tremendous character in the prison, he will have been a source of comfort and support and help for others around them, giving hope to those who have hope, giving good news to those who would get good news, and just being a person who help people face the difficulty of their days. That is ihsan. And you can see this being the case where, say someone who's in there for life, or someone who's been falsely imprisoned, he'd say to them, don't worry, patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't neglected you. And even if things don't go your way in this life, there's also always a day of judgment, and then all scores will be settled. So he gives words of comfort and support. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, as so we can infer from this that when he went into the prison, those amazing qualities and character traits that the Aziz saw in him, and obviously they've developed further now, that Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam saw in him, once again, that was many years ago. These are these are on full display for everyone in the prison to see, and you can't help but be affected by someone like this. Not only that, he is a prophet. He was given revelation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was communicated to as a prophet, and people like this are incredibly special. I mean, if the saints of this ummah have a presence, like there are many cases of people, saintly people, the awliya, walking into lands such as, say, the Yemenis from Hadramaut. These people went to Indonesia, Malaysia, and these people, and many thousands accepted Islam. The same thing with India. Some people went and people noticed in them that they had a deep serenity about them, and they noticed that these people with their deen have what the Indian pagans didn't have. And so they left their religion and adopted the religion because they saw the truth in it. This is with the followers of a prophet. With the prophet himself, it's much stronger, this effect. And so they will have seen this is a very special person. So these two young men who entered the prison with him, they see, and they probably understand from the experiences and what he said, that he can interpret dreams. Why are they telling them his dreams? Ibn Ashur says that dreams, as we know, dreams, Muslim, non-Muslim, people know that dreams can sometimes indicate, what's going to happen, or some good aspect. Especially, in these cultures, they had that understanding. So when someone's imprisoned, it's just a lack of hope for most people. They don't know. It wasn't as organized as it is now. Someone goes to prison, and you get a sentence, and you spend half of it in in the actual prison, the other half on probation, and these sorts of things. No, sometimes people just got locked up, and that's it. You know, they just remain there. So there's a lot of despair. So sometimes people, when they see a dream, and they think maybe this dream is indicating something, good, that's going to happen to me. So they want to know what it means. So for them, they found, oh wow, he can interpret dreams. Yeah, let's go speak to him. So they went to Sayyidina Yusuf, and they asked him. One of them said, إني أراني أحمل sorry قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا. I see myself pressing wine. Or you don't press wine. Wine is the liquid that comes. You press grapes, which are then, the grape juice is then turned into wine. But he's used it metaphorically, talking about the end point. It's also the ta'wil, the end point of something, you can say. Same meaning, same word is used for interpretation of dreams. And the other one said, I see that on my head that there's bread that birds are eating from. And they said, Nabitna bita'wilihima. Tell us. Naba is a consequential news. So they could sense there's something significant about these dreams. Sometimes people get that, like they'll see a dream and they don't know what, they don't know how, but they can sense, yeah, there's something significant here. So they said, tell us about this. Tell us about this situation, what it is. Nabitna bita'wilihi. Tell us about the interpretation of it, even though there are two dreams, meaning both of them basically, of what we have said to you. Inna naraka min al muhsinin. So they wanted to know the end result. They wanted to know what the dreams were signifying, and how this related to both of them. Why would they go to him? as I said before, he was a person of ihsan, and so they decided to go and ask him because they knew he'd be truthful and honest, and if he knew the answer, he would tell them it. So what does Sayyidina Yusuf say? قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. Joseph replied, I can even tell you what kind of meals you will be served before you receive it. ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. This knowledge is from what my Lord has taught me. إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ وَهُمْ كَافِرُونَ. He said, I have shunned the faith of a people who disbelieve in Allah and deny the hereafter. Great. What is he saying? Before giving them the answer, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam does what any prophet would do and what every believer should do. Goodwill towards others necessitates that you want good for them. And the ultimate good for someone is to not go to the hellfire and go to paradise. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam started telling them about God, started telling them about Deen, his, the true religion. So this is why he brought up this topic. So, but to prove that what he's saying has worth, has weight, it's true, he reminds them of what Sayyidina Yusuf has been doing and showing them in this prison cell. So he says, why? Because he's telling them about a miracle of his. And if he's right on this, which they can see he's right on multiple occasions, then whatever else he tells them about is also going to be the truth. So he says, قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه. No food comes to you that you're provided with. إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. Except that I tell you about how it's going to be, like what this food will be, hot, cold, all the aspects of it. He can tell them about it before it comes to you, before that food itself comes to you. I can tell you about this food, the food that they're constantly being provided in the prison. It says though Sayyidina Yusuf was regularly telling them, today they're going to give us this food and it'll be like this, it'll be like this, all to build within them an understanding of his great knowledge and that this man is blessed with something other people don't have. And I mean, the whole point of it is for when they see it, there's people want to have that. So for them to think, well, what is it? How has this person got this? So he's preparing the da'wah, calling people to Allah through telling them and reminding them about his miracles. Look, I have this, and the only reason I've got this is because of my iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he's doing. So ذَلِكُمَا, that. So all these points of knowledge regarding what they're going to eat, basically telling them about the future and these sorts of things. ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي, is some of what my loving Lord has taught me, because he's taught him many things, interpretation of dreams, he's taught him deeper meanings, of prophethood and tawheed and the highest levels of what that entails. This is what prophets receive. And if he's got given the knowledge of a sharia, different sets of laws for him or for others, then these are all things that Allah teaches his prophets. So then he gives a reason as to how he attained all of this. إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون. I have shunned, I have left. So this I have left or I have shunned is a good word, but to leave something in Arabic, there's a dual meaning of you first engage with it and then you leave it, right? Or the meaning of I haven't touched it in the first place, I've left it. Right, or you could say leave something alone. I left it well alone. I left it alone. I didn't deal with. I didn't touch it. So both these meanings are valid in Arabic and in English. So this is what he's saying. I haven't even touched. I haven't gone near. I've shunned The millah, the way, the religion, the way usually is something from imla, which is dictated. So what people have been taught, orally from ancestor to ancestor, and there's no real basis for it. There's no proof. It's just transferred down orally, so people follow it because their forefathers did, and that's not something that's based on proof. So he says, the millah of a qawm, people, had they done the right thing, they would have had a lot of potential to do good. What is their discerning trait? لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون. And they, regarding the akhirah, they are firm, staunch, resolute disbelievers. Right? What's interesting, I mean, he's clearly talking about the people in the civilization around him, whether some people believe in Allah and then they worship other idols, and other deities besides him, or they just worship multiple gods straight out and they don't have belief in Allah. That he describes their way as, la yu'minuna, they don't believe. So even if they are claiming to believe in God and claiming to worship, God and Allah, and they have their idol worship going at the same time, it's as though none of it is belief. They may think it's belief and they may think that they're following the religion, but they're not. So them doing all these actions, worshipping their idols or giving something to Allah, and then like some sacrifice and then doing it for the idols, it's all worthless, right? If there's idolatry involved and shirk. And aghna shuraka yani shirk. I am the least of all partners. I am the one least in need of partnership of all. And this is what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said in Hadith Qudsi. So this is what they're doing, and He's saying, I have left the way of these people. They don't believe in Allah. They may claim they do, but they're not. Rather, وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ kafirun. Now these people, when it comes to the akhirah, they are true, utter disbelievers. There's going to be a resurrection. Everyone's going to be called to Allah and they're going to have to answer. That is the absolute truth. But these people regarding that are just complete, utter staunch disbelievers. Kafirun, the ism fa'il, that they're firm in this. They hide and cover the truth, and none of their positions are valid. It's just wrong. So he's saying that it's almost as though he said, I have this special knowledge, and it's as though someone would ask, well, how have you got this? He said, by following, by leaving the way of these people. And then in the next verse, we'll see where he talks about following the way of his ancestors, Ibrahim and Ismail, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub, alayhi wassalatu wassalam, and Ismail, alayhi salatu wassalam. So, and let's stop here and we'll continue, inshallah, from this point. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.